The songs.
Yeah, it will be a new Steve Show feature. Pablo likes the track because it's several songs crammed into one beautiful song. It's textbook Gorkies, really. There's funny time changes. There's some of the wettest whoa-whoa-whoas you've ever heard in a song. It's very good. It's textbook Gorkies, and here it is.
Gorky's Zygotic Monkey. And what was the name of that track?
That was called If Fingers Were Xylophones. You can pick it up on a compilation of singles and EPs. I forget the name, but if you go to your local R Price, they'll be able to tell you what it is.
What would life be like if we had fingers for xylophones for fingers, guys? Let's have a quick discussion on that because it's fascinating.
Well, we've been doing a lot of finger drumming today in the studio, and it would be a lot more melodic, I'd imagine.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on life with xylophones?
Well, drinking a cup of tea would be a nightmare, but I think we'd learn. I think we'd learn to adapt. It's suited the human race so well over the last 5 billion years.
Perhaps it's the next evolutionary step.
Xylophones for fingers?
Yeah.
Is that what the song was about?
I believe so, yeah.
Alright, listen, if you want to give us your opinion on what life would be like with xylophones for fingers, don't get in touch, we're not interested, it was pointless, I don't know, we went down the road. Okay, so we had Gorky's Zygotic Monkey, we had Fujiya and Miyagi, and I have to say, Fujiya and Miyagi didn't really do it for me, Dan. I thought it was a disappointing track to come out of the news with. A lot of people may have switched off. I'm disappointed with you, and sadly the listener. So I think you'll find that Harry, and who were you championing, Harry?
That was Pablo's record.
Pablo's record. Well, I think Pablo and Harry have won their end.
Well, surely
Harry chose that
anybody...
from the many choices coming in. How can people get in touch again? It was go to bbc.co.uk/6music. You can follow my face if you want to make your recommendations and suggestions for tracks that you'd like to hear on the Steve Show playlist in the future. Okay, so we've said in the past, and we've set these questions before, and they're so absurd, I don't know why we do it, but it's sort of... we're trying to identify the ultimate 6 music nerd, and people out there who've just got such a wealth of nonsense music trivia in their brain that they should wear some kind of hat. And these are quiz questions set by a guy called Richard, who runs a Monday night music quiz at the Three Kings pub in Clerkenwell, East London, and this guy really knows his onions. And he phoned me the other day, and I was just chatting to him about what the question was going to be, and he just dropped this one in. This was just a question he dropped in. I'm just going to throw it at you guys now. He just threw this out there. In which order are the Beatles crossing the zebra crossing on the cover of Abbey Road?
Oh.
So we've all seen the cover thousands of times, but in what order? So who's crossed it first, as it were, and then who's behind? Does that make sense?
Right.
Who got across first?
Okay, I'm going to fire one out there.
All right.
I think it's George. George is on the right.
Yeah.
So it'll be George, John, Paul, Ringo. That's
Right, so-
right to left.
So George has got across first.
George is leading the pack.
Right.
John Lennon is close behind. In hot pursuit of him.
Yeah.
Paul McCartney.
Barefoot.
Yeah. And really not pulling his weight.
Right.
Ringo thinking about his future career on Thomas the Tank Engine. He's let us all down.
What are your thoughts?
I don't know, isn't George at the back? I'm going to go George at the back, then Paul, then Ringo, then John at the front.
I'll tell you, this guy's on fire today.
No, really?
This guy's on absolute fire.
Thank you.
Wow,
Thank you.
Dan, you are just picking losers left, right and centre, which
Yes.
makes you a big loser yourself. No, it was indeed. It is John first, Ringo, Paul and then George. And you could drop that into any kind of pub chat, if you're out having a pint tonight, guys, listeners. Yeah, just drop that in, alright? John first, then Ringo, then Paul, then George. And that will entertain your friends for approximately 14 seconds. Okay, let's hear the quiz question.
Another evil question from Richard. What do the following bands have in common? Howling Bells, The Fiery Furnaces, and Gorky's Zygotic Monkey. What do the following bands have in common? Howling Bells, The Fiery Furnaces, and Gorky's Zygotic Monkey.
64046 stephen.6music@bbc.co.uk if you think you might be 6 Music's biggest music nerd listener, and we appreciate it. Okay, now last week, if you recall, I introduced a new feature. It's Sunday. I myself am not a religious man, many people are, and there's lots of great music that has a religious theme to it. I called the feature last week, God, that's good. I've decided that was perhaps a little unfortunate, a little bit perhaps inappropriate, so I've called this one, Jesus Christ, I love that one. And we got a cracking tune from Mr. Elvis Presley that you may not have heard before. It's quite an obscure track, but I think it's cracking. It's called I Got a Feeling in My Body. Jesus Christ, I love that one. Is our religious themed song feature on the Steve Show 6 Music, and that is Elvis Presley, I Got a Feeling in My Body. Okay, we set you a stupidly difficult quiz question just before. Have we got any answers yet on that, or are we giving people a bit more time?
We've got some.
Have we got some answers? Because it is quite a tricky question. Let's rehear the question again, June.
Sure.
I'm throwing things out here. I'm just
Question from Richard. What do the following bands have in common? Howling Bells, The Fiery Furnaces, and Gorky's Zygotic Monkey. What do the following bands have in common? Howling Bells, The Fiery Furnaces, and Gorky's Zygotic Monkey.
If you're anything like me, then you don't care. But some people obviously do, because they've got in touch. Have we got a winner?
We've got a winner, yeah. Kevin in Cleethorpes was the first to come in. Yeah.
Really? Well, let's let Richard give us the answer.
Absolutely.
I asked, what do the following bands have in common? Howling Bells, The Fiery Furnaces, and Gorky's Zygotic Monkey. And the answer is, they all have a brother and sister in the lineup. I could have told you the Magic Numbers,
You could have.
or the Carpenters,
Yep.
but you'd have guessed it then.
We would
wouldn't
have,
you?
yeah. That would have been a lot easier. Thanks very much.
Saved us a lot of time.
That would have saved us an awful lot of time. Sorry, who was the winner again?
That was Kevin in Cleethorpes.
Oh, what a nerd. No, really, if you know Kevin in Cleethorpes, people, well, I mean, he's probably not got any friends, but if you do, if you work with him or something, and you've been listening to the show, then just jeer, mock, laugh, maybe make a really offensive banner for when he comes into work tomorrow, just involving the words nerd, loser, stuff like that, and some swear words. A round of applause for him, that was great work. We decided we weren't going to give a prize for that. We just thought it was prize enough to have been ridiculed by me on the show. Okay, so we were obviously also from the very beginning, we were trying to find a track by the Super Furry Animals that would introduce me to the band, persuade me that they were a group that I should pay some attention to. People often said I would like them, but I genuinely, and this is weird, I don't know how they've passed me by, but I've just got no experience of the SFA. Dan, what about you? Are you a fan?
I know the singles a lot better than you do, and I think they're excellent, but I've never really... I've never taken that next step and bought the album, and I probably regret it because I think I quite like them.
Dan, what about yourself? Dan, I've just said Dan.
Yeah, I'll say the same thing again.
You're so indistinct, the two of you. You're such nobodies that you just blurred into one.
No, I bought the first album, loved it, but then kind of lost my way with them and never really followed it through.
Okay, so we've had a number of suggestions, have we, for a particular track?
Yeah, absolutely. There seems to be one clear winner.
There does, yeah. All the names, all the singles were out there, but The Man Don't Give A seems to be the track that most people are going for.
Right, is that the full title of that song?
Well, I've left a word out.
Have you?
Along the way.
What would it be?
Well, my mum's listening, Steve. You know I can't
Is it a
say
swear word?
It's a naughty.
Is it a rude word?
Yeah, it's a blue.
So I'm already worried because I'm not sure I like bands who use simple shock tactics like that, swear words in songs.
Is it a shock tactic though? I mean, I presume this track was after they were established and they felt comfortable just chucking it out there. It's obviously an unusual. Perhaps it's the listeners who are thrilled by this naughty word in the title, but I'm hoping it's all been edited out.
Well, I'd certainly hope so. Okay, so let's hear this. And this is the Super Furry Animals' chance to impress me and perhaps feature in the future on the Steve Show playlist. And The Man Don't Give A, well, you know the rest. Okay, yeah, alright, no, I don't know that I've fully digested the Super Furries from that one track and that one listen. I think
floor with your idea.
Shall we scrap it? I'll be honest with you as well, I did pop out to the toilet during that track, which probably doesn't bode well, although, you know, it has to be blinking good to keep me from going for a wee. Okay, well listen, thank you very much for all of those people that contributed and suggested Super Furry tracks. We had quite a selection.
We had loads, names such as Ben on text, Minna, Sally in Manchester, Steve on text, Craig Brown, Neil on text. That's just 6 of the 6 million people who got in touch to recommend The Man Don't Give A.
Okay, well thanks very much, and that's pretty much it for this week. Thanks to Dan, Harry, Dave, the Walking Man, everyone obviously who suggested some music. If you want to share your tastes, then go to bbc.co.uk/6music. And next week we're going to be exploring Norwegian folk music. I know what you're thinking. No, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking you're the average 6 music listener. You're thinking, do you know what? Yeah, Kaiser Chiefs, fair enough. But what's going on in Norway at the moment? Is there any interesting Norwegian folk music? Yes, there is, and we'll be delving into it next week. I can't wait that long, you're saying. Well, you'll have to wait. But I want to hear some now. All right, listen. Let's not get into an argument about it. Join us next week. We've got some Norwegian folk music. Next is Stuart McConey's Freak Zone, and in a Norwegian flavour, it's a singer-songwriter with perhaps a bit more poppier feel than the Norwegian folk music. The Clash, Train in Vain from London's Calling. Welcome along, my name is Stephen Merchant. This is The Steve Show, and if you're young and hip and trendy, you're probably listening to the show online.
whilst adding a list of your favourite Buffy the Vampire Slayer episodes to your MySpace page, and at the same time watching that fat woman falling down a hole on YouTube. Have you seen that? It's brilliant. I'll tell you why it's funny. It's funny because she could have died. Now I keep obviously my ear to the ground, and from what I understand nowadays, if you want to discover music, it's all about the web and the blogospheres and your peer-to-peer file share and all that stuff. So speaking in a language that you kids understand, I want you to think of this show as a kind of internet music forum. We can't see each other, but we can communicate through our shared love of music. I play tunes that I think you might like. In return, you recommend songs that you'd like to introduce to me and the rest of the world. And obviously, so that means today we'll have more choices from you, the listeners. Later in the show, we will actually be crawling inside the interweb. I say actually, we're not. I mean, obviously you can't, but in a sort of cheap metaphor, we're going to be crawling inside the interweb and uncovering some of the tunes that are out there online in cyberspace. Now, of course, if you are, as we speak, in some internet chat room discussing how much you love Nelly Furtado or whoever, be careful, because you never know who you're talking to. Some of them are very unsavoury. And we've got two of them right here. It's Dan and Hannah. Hey! Steve Wright style. But you know what, guys? Because I love music so much, I'm not going to talk to you straight away. I'm going to play another record, then I'm going to have a chat and find out how you guys are. All right?
Nice.
Let's have another Steve Wright style round of applause.
Hey.
It's the gossip. They're re-releasing this track because apparently there's a massive public demand. I suspect it's because it didn't sell very well the first time. But here's Standing in the Way of Control. Guys, I've made a terrible, terrible mistake. What is one of the cardinal sins on this show?
Thou shalt not say the word "the" before the band's name.
If it does not exist. You're absolutely right. Round of applause for figuring that out. I gave him no prompting there. He's just come up with that. He knows the rules.
I know how bad you are.
Exactly. And of course that isn't the gossip, it's simply gossip, and I'm very, very embarrassed by myself. Guys, are you a fan of big fat lesbians, generally?
Generally, yes.
Yeah, is that why you're a massive fan of gossip?
Yes.
Excellent. That's the kind of level of banter that you could expect this afternoon. We're all firing on all cylinders. I'll be honest with you, I had a bit of a heavy night, lads, and I was partying in the usual rock and roll song as you'd expect me to on a Saturday night. So I've had a bit of a skinful, a bit of a headache, and no, absolutely. And so I'd be very surprised if this show is any good. And now we've kind of got the giggles, and it must sound really self-indulgent listening at home. Gentlemen, I was speaking prior to gossip about the internet and all that stuff, all the blogging and all the rest that's going on. Now I'm ignorant of all that stuff. It passes me by. Are you guys across the web? How are you a web lord?
I love the web. My problem is I've just moved house. I haven't got my internet connection back up at home. At work, you're not allowed to do a lot of stuff, so I've just been walking around like a zombie for the past 2 weeks. I don't know what's going on. I'm missing trains. The last record I bought was Dexy's Midnight Runners.
Yeah.
I haven't got a clue what's going on anymore.
You very much use it to manage your life, plan your life, recommend things to you.
I'm going out, I'm dressing for summer. It's cold, I've got no one to tell me what to do.
You don't know what's going on there. Dan, are you across the internet?
I'm massively across it, Steve. Yeah. It's my profession. I work on the interweb.
Of course.
The sports website of the BBC.
I should remind people that the reason I have these two guys in the studio is because, I mean, obviously they're friends of mine. One of them's a friend of mine, and I'm not going to tell them which one it is. And but the other reason is because they are not broadcasting professionals. They are losers, nobodies, just average Joes, down below average, and that's why we have them on, because the show is very much about the average Joe coming on and recommending music that they might like, talking about music, being passionate about music, and that's what you, the listener, should do as well. You can get in touch, you can get involved. If you go to www.bbc.co.uk/6music, and you can wander around in there and you can recommend tunes that you might like to hear played on the show, and hopefully maybe even come on and have a chat with us. That's the kind of interactivity that we like. Interactivity, of course, a key word, I imagine, on the webs nowadays, Dan.
Well, very much so, yes, yeah. It's always a keen thing, you've got Web 2.0, that's out there somewhere. The beauty of it seems to be that there's no quality control at all, and that suits someone like me, like you say, average, mediocre, possibly below average. I can get away with all kinds of stuff, and it's valid on the web.
Sure.
Because, there's no quality control.
But that's why this show's very big on the web.
Yeah.
Is because the standards are miserable.
Yeah.
But
and that's the future.
You've got to be very careful, because someone was one of my many PAs was looking on one of the websites, and they said apparently I'm going to appear in a new adaptation of Brideshead Revisited.
Really?
Yeah. So I look forward to that.
Lucky you.
Apparently, was also in a erotic thriller that was made in about 1992, and it was called something like it was something like Illegal Briefs. And it was, there's always a film where a lawyer is defending a woman who may or may not be the murderer.
Yeah.
And,
they end up doing it.
I reckon they do. Probably on a table. So apparently I'm in that. I'm also in Brighthead Revisited, and you know, there's a lot of rumours out there. So obviously, what I'm saying is,